Yo, what's going on, guys? Fizz here once again. So this video is mostly, I think, I will update you guys on the build I'm playing, which is Vaal Flicker. I started with Volcanic Fissure and I rerolled in Act 5 due to wrist pain. So I just did one of my other builds instead that I was pretty excited to try out. And I ended my day 1 at rank 4 Slayer after rerolling a few hours in. Rank 4 Slayer and 32 overall. Slept for a solid 15-16 hours, and now I'm getting ready to start my day 2. That being said, this video is mostly going to be PSAs and changes with the build and not so much my normal build diary format. With that being said though, I'm going to go ahead and plop in a random T8 map and kind of show you guys where the character's progression was at. There's a decent amount of changes to the build and some really annoying stuff. Vaal Flicker is incredibly bugged. It is one of the buggiest skills I've ever seen. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. Great example. I'm going to be talking a little bit about that and just changes to the build I've made and stuff that I suggest you guys should probably do. Why are these guys so tanky? And yeah, we'll get into it. You kind of have to, in hardcore, you have to, sorry if I'm, this is the worst thing about the league. Sorry if I'm like a little bit scatterbrained while trying to map. Trying to explain stuff while doing a live map showcase is kind of hard, but playing Flicker, you have to like focus very hard in hardcore while you're flicking so you don't accidentally, especially with the new mods, which I'll talk about a little bit too, on rares, you don't accidentally flick into something and kill yourself very quickly. The new lightning mirages, or rather the pre-nerf lightning mirages that they put back into the game. Oops. Keep the rampage up. Overall, the build has been pretty fun. There's a few really frustrating aspects about Vaal Flicker that's really irritating to me. That I was kind of like malding out about on stream. That being said, if anybody wants to play the build, if this looks fun to you, I do recommend it. Just know that as of right now, your use of, this was bugged last time I did it. Oh, it's still bugged, I guess. Your use of Vaal Flicker is going to be pretty much limited to single target boss encounters. And that's where I guess I'm going to start. So, verdict for Vaal Flicker. It's incredibly bugged. It has a massive bug list. Sorry, excuse my knees and my camera being way too low. The first bug is the most egregious, first and foremost, and it's why you don't really see me using Vaal Flicker Strike much while mapping. Is that Vaal Flicker Strike, and this is very concerning because it's a big deal, and I have not seen this on their bug list, even though we have made Reddit posts. We've tried to get it like signal boosted a little bit, but there's still nothing. When you pop Vaal Flicker, there's some really weird bug interaction with the way melee splash. And this is the way it was explained to me. This is just conjecture, right? Some weird interaction with the way the melee splash works with Vaal Flicker Strike, where if your splash hits too many mobs at one time, it will just brick the game and it will crash your instance. Now this is really, really bad, and this was really bad for me. It happened a bunch when I first got to maps, because I'm League Start, I'm SSF, and I get a map, I'm doing the map for completion, I pop Vaal Flicker, I get set back to the login screen, I go back into my hideout, the map's gone, the instance is gone. Not only that, but it was bricking my entire map device as well. I had to reset my hideout, like, you know, change it to a different hideout and then change it back in order to get access to my map device back. Really, really annoying. The worst bug by far. You can't use Vaal Flicker while mapping from fear of that happening. It's like pretty game breaking. Which leads me to my next point. Vaal Flicker is really, really buggy. You'll notice there, I've seen a lot of people saying, hey man, there was like one YouTube comment, I think, that mentioned getting stunned out of Vaal Flicker. But I've seen a lot in Twitch chat, people saying, hey, I feel like I'm getting stunned out of Flicker when I pop Vaal Flicker. And this may be the case. You may actually be getting stunned out of Vaal Flicker when you pop it. Though, for me, I have gotten stunned out of one Vaal Flicker across like 15 hours of gameplay. Okay? What tends to happen a lot, I've noticed, is Vaal Flicker just bugs out and stops mid-cast sometimes. Which makes no sense, because there will be tons of mobs for it to jump through. like to connect or whatever, and it will just stop for no reason. The mob won't even hit you. The Vaal Flicker will just stop casting. I have no idea why this happens. It's just another, I presume, bug. On top of this, Vaal Flicker's targeting AI, or lack thereof, is incredibly infuriating. Imagine the randomness of Flicker, but times 100. So the intent with Vaal Flicker is that it gives you damage to help deal with tanky monsters, right? But the issue is that, also I forgot to turn music on for this video. I'm so sorry. The issue with that is that you pop Vaal Flicker on an essence monster, but because the leash range, the targeting radius of your Vaal Flicker is so big, you will clear the entire screen of monsters, pop Vaal Flicker on this essence monster, and then it will jump to a white monster off in the corner that's like barely on your screen, and then spend 24 hits hitting that monster, which is why I'm bringing up, basically stick to using it mostly in single target situations or where there's not a lot of monsters around at all. And because the targeting is so abysmal, I had to drop Impaler. Now, I do want to mention, Impaler is almost certainly still going to be the go-to for single target bossing. But when it comes to general mapping, especially because of how tanky a lot of the rares are now, Essence monsters too, I'll add, you need the Impales, because more often than not, when you pop Vaal Flicker Strike during a map to try to kill a tanky monster, the targeting will brick it, it'll jump to some random monster. And the weird part is, like, if you have a monster, like let's say the Expedition guys are a line of monsters, you pop Vaal Flicker, and I want to kill this Expedition Locker, right? So I pop Vaal Flicker on this. I'll hit this once, and then I'll jump to this monster, Danig, but then I won't jump to the rest of these other monsters. You think it would just go in a line, and it'll just keep targeting and chaining as far as it can. No, it'll hit this monster, and then it'll jump to this one, and then it'll just hit this one the next 23 times, even though it could keep going. So that's why I'm saying it's like very inconsistent. The targeting AI makes no sense. It's not like it just chains as far as it can go and it hits every monster 1 or 2 times and keeps going. Sometimes you'll go into the middle of a pack and it will just say, fuck this one specific guy. This guy needs to die. Which makes it just completely abysmal while mapping. It's like, they should, 1 or 2 changes. It needs to be a actual single target ability where it doesn't jump around. Or 2, if it does jump around, it needs to respect your melee splash range or whatever, and will guarantee that the mob that you cast it on will not ever not be getting hit. So like, let's say I cast it on Rog, it could jump around a Danig or Gwenin or the Heist Locker or whatever, as long as my +1 strike or my melee splash is still hitting Rog. As long as he is still getting hit by all hits of the Vaal Flicker Strike, then it could still jump around and like basically keep the radius relatively small, is what I'm saying. Of like the max distance that you would be able to teleport away, so you can't get like dragged off a few screens. These are changes that would need to like feel good while mapping, and for Impaler to be worth it while mapping. The good news is that it still hits really hard. It's not bad without Impaler or anything like that. It's still satisfying to play. You'll still chunk packs and stuff. It's like a minor loss in clear speed in terms of like being able to hit a pack and like the whole screen explodes, but it's still a buff overall for clear speed, due to the fact that because some monsters, especially essence monsters, are so tanky and you can't reliably use Vaal Flicker Strike on them, your clear speed in the end of like time to completion for an entire map or an entire set of maps will go up drastically by just not clicking this node. Now, if you're going to go fight Shaper or something like that, it's probably worth clicking this node, unironically, because as soon as you charge it up, you're gonna get your damage worth. As long as you can get all 25 hits off on a monster with Vaal Flicker Strike, Impaler is still a very, very strong node. But again, the randomness of maps and the terrible AI with the way that its targeting is set up on Vaal Flicker, just unspec this for maps. It's whatever. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Aside from that, the tree, I guess I'll go over it real quick. Everything on the tree is exactly as I said it would be, is exactly as predicted in the POB. My next level up, as soon as I level up, I'm gonna grab Born to Fight. And then from there, I'm not really sure what I was going to do after. I had a plan before I slept. As of right now, I've gotten 1 jewel. I have not gotten Impale on my gloves yet. I've gotten 1 jewel with 5% chance to Impale. So as soon as I can get another Viridian jewel with 5% chance to Impale, what I'll likely do is grab this socket for 1 point, and then grab this socket for 2. I'll probably take a little bit out of life node somewhere or something like that, since I can get life on a jewel, right? And do that. And then what that will allow me to do is take the rage setup. As soon as you get the rage setup online, the build will become much, much stronger. It'll map way faster, and you'll deal a lot more damage. In terms of Vaal Flicker Strike without Impaler, it still does an insane amount of damage. Basically, the calculation that I had in the POB where you take 50% and apply it 5 times, you'll just take 10% and apply it 5 times instead, which is still a really big hit. And when you pair it with, you know, Harvester of Foes, you'll get additional Impale effect. You pair it with the Rage, which is a real reason we're using this. So we'll have a bunch of Rage, and then you also pop Berserk. And you should also, I need to mention this, you should also be popping, I don't know if you guys saw while I was mapping, you pop War Banner when you pop Vaal Flicker Strike, like all the time. Every time you use Vaal Flicker Strike, you should be throwing the banner down. Even if it doesn't have a lot of charges, you still want to use it because it gives you 30% increased attack damage while it's placed. It's a very big deal. So the whole idea, again, is snapshotting for Vaal Flicker Strike. Do I think this is a bad build? No, I think it's good. I still think it's a very good build. It's actually still very fun to play. It's just really annoying that the entire idea that I had when I made the build doesn't work, not due to a failure on my part, but due to like it's just being a buggy mess. And that is kind of my initial reaction to 3.20 so far, is that everything is a buggy mess. Volcanic Fissure, even though I rerolled early on and it wasn't due to the skill itself, my wrists, I have like bad tendonitis flare-ups in my like forearm, and I was kind of concerned before league starting about playing it due to this, because it was already, I was getting pain before the league started. I'm in Act 5, I'm like 2 hours in or whatever, and my wrist is like on fire. Obviously, my league start stream was like 20 something hours. If I'm 2 hours in and I feel this amount of pain, there's no way I'm making it through that long of a session without hurting myself, right? So I was like, okay, it sucks, but I gotta go again. We gotta do something else. This is not gonna work out for me. But later on through the stream, I'm finding out stuff from people. Because, you know, Quantrix started it, Garotha started it. Obviously, there's people in my chat playing it. There's a bunch of fuck stuff with Volcanic Fissure. I was having fun with it the whole time I was playing with it. I have nothing really bad to say about that. It was a little jank. My initial testing was that Seismic Cry was hurting the build more than helping it, which, again, like I said, I don't know if I said this in the actual build video, but I've been saying this plenty since then. If Seismic Cry hurts it, you just take the, I forget the name, I think Ramako, the node that gives you a bunch of Fire Pen instead, and then use Infernal Cry instead of Seismic Cry. That's all that you change. Nothing really changes with the build. I accounted for that, right? Some people are getting mad that it didn't, Sniper's Mark didn't give it extra projectiles. That's how I assumed it would work. It doesn't give Molten Strike extra projectiles. It would be silly to assume that Volcanic Fissure did. However, apparently, because some people are saying the projectiles feel too slow to me, and I'm telling them, oh, we'll just take Fury Bolts. You know, this is the same pathing that Chieftain has, right? You go through here because you have to go down here to get Point Blank and the Marked for Death Mastery and all that stuff. I'm like, it's already, you've passed through here already. Spend 2 points on Fury Bolts. You get 20% proj speed. Should make it feel a lot smoother. Apparently, it doesn't scale with proj speed at all. I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what I've seen said. People are saying that Garotha is saying this as well, who is still playing it. So apparently reductions and increases to proj speed don't affect the balls at all. I cannot confirm or deny this. This is what I've been told by multiple people, which is really weird. That does not seem intended. But the biggest thing, the very egregious thing, in my opinion, is that this skill is tagged as a slam. Now, the entire archetype of slams is exerting them via war cries. Like, that was the whole idea of the slam rework, right? Why does Vaal Volcanic Fissure not get exerted by war cries? That blew my mind. I had like a 30-minute rage. I stopped playing my Slayer. I got back on my Chieftain and I was testing it. It doesn't. It's not exerted by Vaal skills. By Vaal Volcanic Fissure. No war cries at all. It doesn't work with them. Why? The only other Vaal slam we have is Vaal Ground Slam, and it absolutely is exerted. There's nothing on the gym that says it wouldn't be. So why does it not work? I was like very upset about that, because the damage effectiveness is a good deal. It's like 40% increased damage effectiveness or something over normal Volcanic Fissure, which is like a boost, but it's like, why would you ever use this even while clearing? Why would you use it while clearing unless you're already very comfortably one-shotting everything anyway, because it's going to deal half the damage or less of a normal just exerted Volcanic Fissure. You know what I mean? And it already travels really far. So we don't, and the thing here is there's so much stuff. There's a bunch of stuff with curses. Waggle's League Start got bricked too because there was a bunch of bugs with curses as well. We don't know what is intended, what is not intended. We don't know like what was just intended and left out of the patch notes, or they don't even know about it because everything is so fucked. Everything is so buggy. It's hard to tell. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, everything is so buggy beyond belief that we can't even discern like what the deal is or if it's going to get fixed or what. I don't know. We're all just going to be waiting on a lot of these skills for days or a week before it's addressed in some manner. I do want to say, out of everything I've mentioned, I have a lot of gripes with this build that I'm playing right now, the Vaal Flicker Strike build, but it is by no means a bad build. I do want to reiterate that. I'm going to continue playing it today. I may re-roll at some point. That's mostly due to me being like, I didn't plan on League starting this build anyway, and Flicker Strike is something that I was very wary of playing like on stream and streaming that, because there's a lot of people who don't like, there's a lot of my viewers even like they suffer from like, you know, like motion sickness and stuff like that, and I don't want to like, I've been very scared to play this on like Flicker ever on stream because of issues like that. So I don't know. As of right now, I plan on logging in streaming today and playing this rest of the day. But at some point in the day, I may just be like, I may have an idea and decide to go off and do something else. I'm not sure. But this is kind of like the mini build diary for this, as well as like a 3.20 review, my verdict on some of the skills I've seen so far and stuff like that. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the build. I've theory crafted tons of more optimizations you could do to fit into the build. One thing is actually fitting in, since multi-strike is not actually supported by, or Vaal Flicker Strike is not supported by multi-strike because it can't support Vaal skills. We've known this. What I was thinking is we can actually, in endgame setup, give Vaal Flicker its own 6-link, and we can get massive damage boosts. So the biggest thing with hardcore is like, in a lot of situations you want to pop Vaal Flicker, especially right now. I don't have like attack speed at all. I just got this sword, which has a decent amount of attack speed on it. I just got Wrecking Ball, which is cool too. And then right before I ended stream, I got lab done. So I got my extra frenzy charge, which, by the way, I did like 100 maps and didn't get lab trial. I actually ended up getting my lab trial from a T12 Curec mission that said, you know, find the labyrinth. So I feel like they drastically reduced the lab spawn rates. And people in my chat were saying they felt the same way. But the point I'm getting at here is my attack speed is pretty low, so my time to finish my Vaal Flicker was a little bit uncomfortable for me. Especially at the start, when I first got to maps, it would take like 4 seconds, which was like way too long for me, right? Because I can't control myself. So if like I'm hitting a mob and it decides to slam while I'm doing it, I'm toast, man. So for hardcore, my goal is kind of shifted to get the cast off as fast as possible. Now, when we have the rage check and berserk, this probably won't be a problem at all anymore, because right now my Vaal Flicker already finishes in like, I think a little bit over a second, maybe like a second and a half. When we have a rage and berserk, we pop that, it should be like well below a second. But what I was also thinking is like, we're already going to be using a focus craft on the ring for shock to get that even higher snapshot on the Vaal Flicker Strike. Well, why don't we just get 50% increased damage while focused on our other accessory slot or whatever, and then, you know, it's still the same button, but every time we pop it, which again, you would be able to do this every single time you Flicker Strike, because Vaal Flicker actually has a 6 second cooldown before you can gain souls, and when you account for the time to gain the souls back, every single time you ever Vaal Flicker, you want to be popping, like in a single target damage situation, you want to be popping your War Banner and your Focus. So you'd pop War Banner and Focus right as you hit the button, and it's like, it leads to massive damage. So what you would do, and War Banner again also gives you adrenaline when you throw it down, which is again a bunch more attack speed. So we'd get that focus on our ring as well, and your Vaal Flicker would be instant. With Berserk, it would just literally be instant. So I think that would make it a lot safer for like hardcore bossing, and that's what I've been thinking about. The other thing is, like I said, like late game, you get 2 6-links. You get a 6-link on your sword, your endgame sword, and your chest piece. And what you do is you would throw in or rather throw out life tap on your mark on hit setup, because we're actually not that strapped for mana with the build, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. So you throw out Life Tap there, and that saves you 1 socket. And then on down here, we would actually be getting rid of Precision and Arrogance, which normally on a Precise Technique build would not work with the amount of life you have. However, because we get basically like a little bit over half of a Precision aura from our sword implicit, it means that once our gear is good enough, we can drop Precision and still maintain Precise Technique, which is huge. That is a huge deal. So we'd be able to drop those 3, which is 3 sockets, obviously. And then I was thinking, like, for bossing and stuff, Ancestral Protector's good for clearing and stuff, especially when you're not using Impaler. But with Impaler and the bossing setup, you could drop Ancestral Protector and maybe even use Ben's New Boots, which give you 100% increase effect of a totem, but limit you to 1, and it makes the effect linger, which would be a massive buff for this build. You'd only use War Chief. And because you'd be dropping Ancestral Protector, it means multi-totem is gone too, which is 5. And then I'm not really sure. Oh, and then faster attacks off Leap Slam, because you have so much attack speed. You have a ton of frenzy charges. You have rage, blah blah blah. And then close combat as well. Flicker Strike also gives you increased move speed. So close combat, ironically, after you Flicker Strike, you don't really Leap Slam that much, but after you Flicker Strike, you get the super fast Leap Slam anyway, due to close combat's buff. But the point I'm getting at is you can actually trim those 6 sockets out, so you have a full 6 link that you can put on Vaal Flicker Strike. And one thing, obviously, you'd be dropping multi-strike for Ruthless, and Fortify you'd be dropping for. So here's what I was thinking. When you have the double curse set up, you'll have vulnerability, which means your hits will be able to bleed. So you could use the Bloodthirst support or whatever it is. There's Bloodthirst, and then there's another one, Blood whatever, and one of them is for low life. Not the low life one, but the one that does more damage if they're bleeding. You could use that support. You could use faster attacks to make it literally instant if you don't want to do the focus craft. But there's a lot of stuff you can put in, because Fortify, it doesn't give that much damage. The reason we use it is for utility, to give us Fortify, right? But the issue is that Vaal Flicker Strike doesn't deal damage the entire time you're using it. So we're not really getting that utility. And the Fortify that we have from just normal Flicker Strike will last longer than Flicker Strike takes to cast. So it's kind of it's like a half link in a way. It doesn't give us nearly as much damage as a full support link would, and we don't need or get any utility from it. So we would replace that too as well in the 6 link. So I think that would be like a super endgame build you could do for like bossing and stuff like that. That would absolutely, like, this would like skyrocket your damage. Past that, I am 23 minutes in. Like I said, I wanted this to be short. Links and stuff like that, nothing. It's all basically the same as the POB. The only thing is I'm running a forward link on my weapon. Worth noting is that my weapon, I dropped us Invictus, which gives us Rampage, so I'm using that on a weapon swap. Basically what I'll do is I'll run into the map, I'll kill like 1 monster with a normal flicker, and then swap back, because even if the Rampage counter doesn't show up yet, it starts at 1 kill, so you only need to kill 1 monster with it, and then you swap back. I just have the same skills and the same links so that I can still use my movement abilities and stuff. So I made sure to put my movement abilities and no auras in the weapon. So when I weapon swap, I don't like brick my damage or my defenses or anything. But other than that, yeah, I'm only using Ancestral Protector because I don't have the sockets to run War Chief. So the 3 or the 2, I guess, sockets I'm missing here would be Ancestral War Chief Totem and then multi-totems. And then I just put Life Tap in here instead because I just don't have I don't have my Elrion crafts yet, but more importantly, it's I don't have anything else to put in there right now. So that's why that stuff's set up. And then Molten Shell, Cast Damage Shaken, Arrogance with Precision, War Banner, Blood Rage, Pride, Determination. In my links, I'm using Fortify, Multi-Strike, Flicker Strike, Brutality, Melee Fizz, Ancestral Protectors, and the extra socket there. If you get 2 greens, you can use Close Combat instead. It does less damage than melee fizz, but it doesn't come with a less attack speed multiplier, so this will let you map faster. Even though this is technically more damage. If you're just getting to maps or something, or if your character doesn't have a lot of attack speed yet, or a lot of frenzy charges, it's probably better to use close combat because it'll make it feel a lot smoother to play. And then, yeah, in the helmet, Poacher's Mark, Mark on Hit, Life Tap, Enduring Cry. A lot of the gear isn't anything crazy. Life, double resist, full suffixes, so I just put armor on the prefix because I don't have a lot of syndicate crafts yet. Amulet's a really weak piece. I basically am just using this for the 12% lightning res, and I bench crafted on life because I really needed lightning res. This ring is actually pretty solid. It's 15% all res with 272 accuracy and an open prefix for life craft. And my other ring is again very good as well, 15% all res with 24% chaos res and an open prefix for life craft. On my belt, nothing crazy, just some resists with an open prefix for again life. The jewel in it is just life. The attack speed doesn't mean anything because we can't crit, obviously. On my boots, it's again just resistances and stuff. This early on, I don't try gear in for spell suppression, which is why I'm using a full armor base, by the way. It's just because early on, when you don't have spell suppression, it just makes more sense to gear for armor specifically because it'll make your molten shell stronger. And when your molten shell stronger, it gives you more survivability than going hybrid bases with no spell suppression. Because the only reason we go hybrid bases is for spell suppression. So if you don't have spell suppression yet, then full armor bases is better because it'll give you way stronger molten shells and Vaal molten shells, which also apply to spells, right? My gloves are actually really good for, you know, what they are day one. It's just no spell suppression, obviously, but again, no spell suppression this early on. But it's a ton of life, 106 life, actually decent flat armor, and good resistances with the open suffix for chaos craft. The sword is a struggle. I struggled so much getting a weapon, which is really annoying, honestly. But I finally got something kind of decent. It is a T2 attack speed roll, a T4 flat fizz, and then I bench crafted on percent fizz, which is not the best bench craft you could use, but I haven't gotten to Wasteland, I think is where you get the best one. Anyway, it sucks. It's decent enough now. I think this is like 470 PDPS. I was pain champing super hard because I was like pushing into red maps and I was using a sword that I got in Blood Aqueducts. Like it was really bad. And a lot of it's just I haven't gotten a lot of crafting materials and stuff like that. So I've been a little bit down bad on the weapon. Other than that, though, everything's been fine. The build was fine, and I was just really annoyed day one, and I didn't get a lot of sleep. I got like 2 hours of sleep 2 days before league start, and then the day before, like the night before league start, I got only like 3 hours of sleep. So I was running off 5 hours of sleep roughly in the 48 hours leading up to league start, and then also was up for 24 hours on league start. So I was like mad on edge. I was very sleep deprived, and I was crying about everything. Overall though, day one was okay. I'm really disappointed at the state of all the bugs. Anyone who's gonna say, what about Forbidden Sanctum? I don't know. There was a lot of people that were just immediately like, Forbidden Sanctum's super scuffed, everything is scuffed, whatever. And I was like, okay, then I guess I won't do it. It really is that simple. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say. I have not done the league mechanic literally one time. I will stand by my statement prior to the league going live, which is I don't really care because a lot of people are like, but how are you gonna play Flicker if the league mechanic is like, dude, I don't care. If the league mechanic will be fine, like they said in the stream, where it's like, yeah, we accounted for melee, you'll take way less resolve damage or whatever if you're closer to enemies, blah blah blah. Either it will work that way, in which case, great, there's no reason to be concerned, or two, it won't work that way and it'll be super overtuned, which means people are gonna complain on Reddit and stuff's going to be on fire, and then we'll get a patch a few days in that massively nerfs the mechanic, and then it will be all right again. You know, so it doesn't, I wasn't phased one way or the other because the end result would be the same, and I typically don't interact with the league mechanic for the first few days anyway as a hardcore player. There's almost always some overtuned bullshit with league mechanics that is either bugged or just blatantly overtuned that leads to tons of unnecessary deaths. So typically for the first few days, I don't even interact with the league mechanic anyway. So no skin off my back. Everything's going according to plan on that front. We'll just wait for them to address it. Yeah. So that's kind of everything for me. definitely a mixed bag so far on 320. I'm hoping the other skills that I have not yet gotten to play with are fun and at least less buggy than this stuff, because I'm really looking forward to Blade Flurry specifically. That build is something I'm really excited for. Venom Gyre is another one that I really wanted to play just because it looks really cool. The actual skill MTX, I like all like the little like the knives, they look cool. Almost like little kunai or something. But I don't know if that build is really going to be, I don't know if I can make Venom Gyre work and make it feel like good enough to do content on in HCSSF, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see when you get there. But that's my current feelings. If you want more information about this or whatever, feel free to join my Discord. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to YouTube. Like the video. All that crap. I'm in a rush to go stream. So if you want to go hang out in the stream after this, I'm gonna be doing some more flicking in HCSSF. So stream link down below or whatever. Come say hi to me as soon as this video's up. I'm gonna be over there streaming, and that is why I've been pretty 30-minute video, but that's kind of fast for me, to be honest. It's why I feel so rushed and I'm trying to glaze through a lot of topics quickly, because I slept for almost an entire day. So I need to get back on the grind. Anyway, appreciate you guys for watching. Very scuffed video, very scuffed outro, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope everybody's having a good league start. Bye. See ya. Gotta go stream.